Now for the top story tonight, reaction joining us from Oklahoma City, Republican pollster Chris Wilson. And from Chicago, Real Clear Politics executive editor Tom Bevan. So am I making any mistakes here, Mr. Bevan?
No, Bill, I think you've got it right. I think it is good news for Republicans that Romney isn't running. It gives them a chance to go with a fresh start. And I think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of Republicans thought that race against Barack Obama in 2012 was winnable, and Romney was just a poor candidate and really squandered some opportunities to win that race. So
we have never been able, and I hate to admit this to the folks, because we usually get to the bottom of it. We have never been able to find out why the Romney campaign, we invited him on the Factor, would have given him the whole hour the night before the vote. Barack Obama had turned us down. I had talked to his guy, Axelrod, myself, and we offered the whole hour free. I'd go wherever he was. Not only did he turn us down, he turned down everybody, Mr. Bevan. Everybody, all right? In the last days of the campaign, it made no sense. Have you found out what happened?
In terms of what, Bill? In terms of why Romney lost that race?
Why he wouldn't do any media, why he disappeared after Sandy, why he was so passive in the last days of the race.
No, not really. I mean, there really isn't an explanation. Sandy, I think, did freeze that race a little bit. And certainly Romney, after a strong first debate performance, didn't perform well in the next couple debates.
So, but the key question is, the guy if you disappear for a week before the vote, you're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened to Mitt Romney. All right, Mr. Wilson, now, the polls this early don't really mean anything because some of the Republican contenders, like the governors, they're not very well known. If they decide to run, they'll get better known. But judging from what we have in front of us, it looks like Jeb Bush is the front runner, correct?
Yeah, he is, and that's the important thing to keep in mind here is Mitt Romney wasn't going to be the Republican nominee. Really what he could do was take votes away from Jeb Bush, from Chris Christie, some of the other moderate establishment candidates. And now that he has pulled out, and like you said, he was having trouble, he was losing donors, he was losing support. So now what you've got is just a name ID contest. And it's really interesting. You ask the poll two different ways. If you give a list of names, it says one thing. If you ask an open-end format, it says a completely different thing. And so what we have is just Republican voters who are looking for who they believe is the best alternative Hillary Clinton, who can beat Hillary Clinton. Republicans are desperate to win in 2016. And so it's the person who has the most name ID right now who comes to the top.
Yeah.
Which says to me, we're going to have a wide open race. It's going to be fought based on the sort of dynamics that you just mentioned.
But Jeb Bush has a big advantage, Mr. Bevan. He has a big advantage because he's got the machine, the Bush machine. He's got the money, all right, got the name. Although the name cuts both ways, that a lot of people don't want to see another Bush in the White House. The other candidates, of the other candidates, who do you think right now is the dark horse, the Barack Obama of the Republican Party?
That's a good question. I mean, certainly Scott Walker made a real positive impression. I don't know that I'd call him a dark horse, really. But there are some folks out there. Mike Pence of Indiana, Governor Mike Pence. John Kasich has made some rumblings about possibly jumping into this race as well. I agree with Chris. I think it's wide open. And it's going to be, and interestingly, Bill, it is shaping up to be sort of an old versus new. You've got Mitt Romney was part of the old, Mike Huckabee's part of the old, and you've got these new faces like Scott Walker, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, and others that I think the Republican Party is really looking for.
But there isn't any one of those guys at this point that you say, look, if I had $100, I go to Vegas, the odds are going to be real bad. I could really strike it rich here, putting my money on.
I would have to say you look at the grassroots. Who are they getting excited about? You look at what's happening in Iowa, in South Carolina. They really got excited about.
Krauthammer said he put his money on Rubio as a long shot deal. That's what I'm wanting you guys to do. Mr. Wilson.
I think you look to the Senate. I would look at Ted Cruz. I think Marco Rubio. I think Rand Paul. I think you're going to have someone come out of the Senate of that. I look at who the grassroots seems most excited about right now. I would say Senator Ted Cruz of Texas right now is who I see grassroots getting excited about.
Wow,
I do.
That's interesting. And how about you?
I'd have to go with Scott Walker at the moment. I mean, he's a conservative governor who's won 3 times in a blue state. And he's a guy who could potentially unite the Tea Party wing and the establishment wing, bring them together. And so I put my money on Walker right now.
Yeah, Walker will be interesting going up against Pence and Kasich and the Texas governor because they're all kind of running on an economic platform. Rand Paul's got trouble with terrorism, though. That's his big deficit, right?
Yeah, no question. It's been a challenge for him, and I think you could point to a lot of candidates who do have problems. That's kind of why I end up with Cruz. He's the one person who I think can unite the four periods: the moderate establishment group, the libertarian group, the Christian conservative group, and then the Tea Party group. You've really got to be able to bring all four of those together, and that's really where you get into a Scott Walker may be able to bring into the moderate establishment. You've got a Mike Pence who falls a little bit into the Christian conservative and maybe the moderate establishment. You look for someone who can fit all four, and that's why I went with Cruz.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, guys, we appreciate it.